Hello, and welcome to the Sleepy Scientist, your peaceful corner of the internet. A place where your mind can wander, your breathing can slow, and the sharp edges of the day can gently fade away. Before we dive in, I'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from tonight? Maybe you're curled up in bed, tucked into the corner of your favorite couch, or perhaps in a completely unexpected place. Either way, it's wonderful to have you here. If this is your first visit, I'd be truly grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe. And for those of you who have already joined me on these quiet, curious adventures, thank you for continuing to return. I'll do my best not to make this video so fascinating that you stay awake all night, but if it does keep you up, at least you'll drift off knowing a few more of the ocean's secrets. So, settle in. The sea has been with us for as long as the earth has been blue, and tonight, we're going to explore its story in all its depth. But here's something to think about as we begin. If most of our planet is covered by water, why do we still call it Earth? The ocean is the largest living system on our planet, and yet it's the least explored. It is both ancient and ever-changing, a place where geology, chemistry, physics, and biology swirl together in endless motion. The water you see at the shore today might once have carried the breath of a whale in another age, or drifted above volcanic vents deep beneath the Pacific. We'll begin by understanding the sea not as one single body, but as a collection of different worlds. There are sunlit waters where plankton bloom in great clouds that feed the planet. There are coasts that rise and fall under the moon's pull, teeming with life that clings, burrows, and darts. And there are depths so dark and pressurized that no human could survive unassisted, yet life still thrives there, completely without sunlight. As we travel, we'll explore the forces that shape these waters, the tides that tug at continents, the currents that carry heat around the globe, and the chemistry that sustains marine life. We'll meet the architects of coral cities, the wanderers of the open ocean, and the invisible drifters quietly producing much of the air we breathe. The ocean is more than a backdrop for life. It's the stage, the script, and the quiet director of Earth's climate and seasons. It has shaped our history, our myths, and even our survival. And though it covers more than 2/3 of the planet, we've barely touched its surface. By the time we're done, you'll have walked the shores, drifted through sunlit zones, descended into midnight depths, and returned with new eyes for the water that touches every part of life. So, let's start at the very beginning, when the oceans themselves were born. If you could visit Earth more than 4.5 billion years ago, you wouldn't see the calm blue world we know now. Instead, you'd find a planet still glowing from its violent birth, molten rock dominating the surface, a heavy, toxic atmosphere swirling above, and constant volcanic eruptions shaking the ground. The air would sting with gases, and not a single drop of liquid water would greet you. The oceans, so vast and ancient in our minds, had not yet been born. The story of how they came to be is one of science's great mysteries. While no single theory is fully proven, there are two leading ideas. The first points beyond our skies, to the icy edges of the solar system. Billions of years ago, Earth was bombarded by comets and water-rich asteroids. These cosmic travelers, formed in the frozen outer regions, carried ice within their cores. Each time one struck Earth, its ice vaporized instantly, releasing water into the atmosphere. It might seem far-fetched that impacts could fill entire oceans, but remember, this wasn't a one-time event. Millions of such collisions happened over hundreds of millions of years, and slowly, they could have delivered enough water to create the seas we know today. The second theory keeps the story closer to home. Deep within Earth's mantle, water exists trapped inside minerals, locked in chemical bonds. In the planet's early days, volcanic eruptions were unimaginably powerful, venting enormous amounts of gas, including water vapor, into the air. As the surface cooled, the vapor condensed into rain. But this wasn't a gentle rain, it was an epic downpour lasting thousands of years, under dark, storm-filled skies lit by constant lightning. The water pooled in lowlands and craters until it merged into the first seas. Many scientists believe the truth is a mix of these two theories, water rising from Earth's depths through volcanism, combined with water from countless icy impacts. However it happened, once liquid water covered the Earth, everything changed. Once water covered Earth's surface, the planet gained a powerful climate regulator. Because water absorbs and releases heat slowly, it stabilized temperatures. It also became a perfect medium for chemical reactions to take place more easily. Most importantly, it provided a potential cradle for life. Those earliest oceans were nothing like the clear blue waters we know today. They were likely cloudy, filled with dissolved minerals and metals leached from the young crust. Oxygen was scarce or completely absent, replaced by gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and ammonia. Depending on the minerals present, the water may have looked greenish or even reddish. At that time, the Moon, newly formed from a massive planetary collision, was much closer to Earth than it is now. Its gravitational pull created tides that were far more extreme than anything we see today, stirring the young seas in powerful, constant motion. It may have been in these alien waters that life first emerged. One possibility is that it began in shallow coastal areas, where the warmth of sunlight and the gradual concentration of organic molecules created ideal conditions for chemistry to turn into biology. Another theory points to the deep ocean, at hydrothermal vents where mineral-rich water gushed from the seafloor, providing heat and energy. Here, in total darkness and under immense pressure, simple molecules might have combined into more complex structures, eventually giving rise to the first living cells. By around 3.2 billion years ago, the oceans were no longer empty. They were home to microscopic organisms, the earliest life forms on Earth. These single-celled pioneers were incredibly resilient, surviving conditions that would be deadly to most modern species. Some of them developed a revolutionary ability, photosynthesis. Using sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water, they created sugars for energy and released oxygen as a byproduct. At first, this oxygen reacted with minerals in the ocean, slowly changing its chemistry. But over millions of years, oxygen began to accumulate in the atmosphere in what scientists call the Great Oxidation Event. This transformation set the stage for more complex life. The oceans shifted toward the oxygen-rich balance we know today, allowing entirely new kinds of organisms to evolve and thrive. The sea became not only the birthplace of life but also its great engine, driving biological innovation for billions of years. If we could compare the ancient oceans to the modern ones, the difference would be dramatic. Today's oceans are relatively stable in temperature, salinity, and oxygen levels, supporting an incredible diversity of life. The brilliant blue color we see from space comes from the way water absorbs and scatters light, something that wouldn't have been as vivid in the mineral-rich seas of the past. Modern ocean currents distribute heat and nutrients across the globe. In the early oceans, circulation may have been sluggish and patchy. Still, there is a deep continuity. The water lapping at our shores today contains molecules that have been part of the ocean for billions of years, cycling endlessly through evaporation, precipitation, and flow. Some of the very same water that splashed against volcanic islands in Earth's youth now drifts beneath polar ice or swirls in warm tropical shallows. It's humbling to think that every drop holds a history stretching back to a time before continents, before oxygen in the air, before even a single living creature existed to witness it. The birth of the oceans wasn't just the beginning of a geological feature, it was the starting point for the entire story of life on our planet. Without the seas, there would be no forests, no deserts, no animals or humans, and perhaps no Earth as we know it at all. If we could drain the oceans like an oversized bathtub, the landscape beneath would astonish you. Far from flat and empty, the seafloor is a world of towering ridges, vast plains, deep trenches, and hidden volcanoes. It's every bit as dramatic as the landscapes above water, only cloaked in darkness and mystery. The largest features of this underwater world are the ocean basins, immense depressions in Earth's crust that hold the planet's water. These basins exist because the crust isn't a single solid shell, but a patchwork of massive tectonic plates. These plates float atop the hot, slowly flowing mantle, shifting over millions of years. Where plates pull apart, molten rock rises from below to form new crust. This creates underwater mountain ranges called mid-ocean ridges. One example, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, snakes for thousands of kilometers down the center of the Atlantic Ocean, constantly creating new seafloor and slowly pushing the continents apart. Where plates collide, the story changes. One plate may slide beneath another in a process called subduction, forcing parts of the seafloor deep into the mantle. These subduction zones are home to the deepest places on Earth. The Mariana Trench in the western Pacific is the most famous, plunging more than 11,000 meters. If Mount Everest were placed inside it, the summit would still be over 2 kilometers below the surface. Not all of the seafloor lies in such abyssal depths. Along the edges of continents stretch the continental shelves, broad, shallow extensions of land submerged under relatively little water, often less than 200 meters deep. These shelves slope gently until they reach the continental slope, where the seafloor drops sharply into the deep ocean basins. Continental shelves are among the most biologically productive areas on Earth. Sunlight penetrates these shallows, and the constant mixing of nutrient-rich waters fuels thriving marine ecosystems. Coastal cities, fisheries, and shipping routes depend heavily on them, making these regions just as important for human life as they are for marine species. The depth of a given sea depends on geology, plate activity, and sediment buildup. Some seas, like the North Sea or the Persian Gulf, are shallow because they rest on continental shelves. Others, like the Caribbean Sea, are much deeper because they occupy areas of oceanic crust far from land. Sediment carried by rivers and wind can slowly fill in shallower basins, while tectonic stretching or subduction can create deeper ones. This means the shape of the sea is constantly changing over geological time, though to us, it may seem unchanging. Although we talk about the ocean as if it's a single vast body of water, it's traditionally divided into 5 major oceans, each with its own character. The Pacific Ocean is the largest, covering more area than all the continents combined. It contains the deepest point on Earth, the Mariana Trench, and thousands of islands scattered like emerald jewels. Its Ring of Fire is a chain of volcanic and seismic activity outlining its restless tectonic boundaries. The Atlantic Ocean is smaller but still immense, stretching between the Americas to the west and Europe and Africa to the east. Its most striking feature is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which runs like a backbone down its center, slowly widening the basin as magma emerges and cools. The Atlantic is also home to the Gulf Stream, one of the most famous ocean currents, carrying warm water from the tropics toward Europe and influencing climates far beyond its shores. South of these lies the Southern Ocean, encircling Antarctica in a continuous, unbroken ring. Its defining feature is the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, the most powerful ocean current on Earth, which connects the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans while helping regulate global climate. These waters are cold, often turbulent, but incredibly rich in life, supporting vast populations of krill, whales, and seabirds. The Indian Ocean, bordered by Africa, Asia, and Australia, is the warmest of the five. Monsoon winds have shaped human history here for thousands of years, carrying traders and explorers across its waters. Dotted with small island nations and coral reefs, its warm currents play a vital role in regulating rainfall across large parts of Asia and Africa. Finally, the Arctic Ocean is the smallest and shallowest of the five, much of it covered by sea ice for most of the year. It's a unique environment where freezing temperatures, seasonal extremes of light and darkness, and the mixing of Atlantic and Pacific waters create a delicate but rich ecosystem. Though these oceans are named separately, they are all connected. Water flows freely between them, moving heat, nutrients, and life around the globe. The boundaries we draw are human-made, useful for study and navigation, but the sea itself is a single continuous body. The shape of its basins, the positions of its shelves and ridges, dictate the patterns of currents, the distribution of marine habitats, and even the rhythms of our planet's climate. Beneath the waves lies a hidden architecture that has guided the course of life for billions of years. Stand on a beach long enough and you'll notice something fascinating. The waterline slowly creeps forward, swallowing sand and pebbles, then hours later retreats, revealing them again. This steady advance and retreat is the tide, one of the oldest, most reliable rhythms on Earth. It's not caused by wind or waves, but by the pull of celestial bodies on our oceans. The moon is the primary choreographer of this movement. Its gravity tugs on Earth, pulling the ocean slightly toward it. Because water moves more freely than solid ground, it responds by forming a bulge on the side of the planet facing the moon. But there's another player, inertia. As Earth and Moon orbit a shared center of mass, the water on the far side of the planet experiences an outward fling, creating a second bulge. These twin swells of water stay roughly aligned with the Moon, and as Earth rotates, any given location passes through them twice each day, producing 2 high tides and 2 low tides in about 24 hours and 50 minutes. The Sun also shapes the tides, though its pull is weaker on Earth's oceans than the Moon's. When the Sun, Moon, and Earth align during a new or full moon, their combined forces create higher than average tides, known as spring tides. These aren't named for the season, but for the way water springs higher. In contrast, when the sun and moon are at right angles to each other during the first and third quarter moons, their gravitational pulls partially cancel out. This produces gentler tides, called neap tides. The difference between spring and neap tides can be dramatic, especially in places with large tidal ranges. For example, Canada's Bay of Fundy can experience tidal changes of over 15 meters between high and low water. In other places, the change may be less than a meter. Local geography, water depth, and coastline shape all influence how tides behave. Narrow bays can amplify tidal movement, while wide, open coasts may see only modest changes. Tides are far more than a simple rise and fall of water. They're essential to many marine and coastal ecosystems. In the intertidal zone, the stretch of shore between the highest and lowest tide marks, life is adapted to constant change. Barnacles cling tightly to rocks, sealing themselves in when the tide leaves them high and dry. Seaweeds anchor firmly, swaying with the waves when submerged and lying flat when exposed. Crabs, snails, and small fish move with the tide, using pools and crevices to survive until the water returns. Estuaries, where rivers meet the sea, depend on tides to bring fresh nutrients and to flush away waste. These nutrient pulses feed plankton, which in turn support fish, birds, and marine mammals. Coral reefs also rely on tidal currents to carry away debris and deliver plankton-rich water to their inhabitants. Even far offshore, where tidal changes at the surface seem small, the vertical movement of water stirs deeper layers, redistributing nutrients and oxygen. Humans have lived by the tides for centuries. Fishermen plan their work to match the ebb and flow, knowing certain species are easier to catch at specific stages. Sailors have navigated with tidal charts, timing their departures and arrivals to ride favorable currents. In the past, tidal mills harnessed tidal energy to grind grain, and today engineers are developing tidal power systems to generate clean electricity from this steady, predictable motion. Tides also hold cultural and spiritual significance in many coastal communities. They've inspired myths, rituals, poetry, music, and folklore, often linked to cycles of growth, change, and renewal. For some, the tides are a reminder of nature's constancy. For others, they symbolize impermanence. Despite their reliability, tides are not identical every day. Small changes in the Moon's distance from Earth, the tilt of Earth's axis, and seasonal weather patterns can affect their timing and strength. Storms can amplify high tides, causing dangerous surges, while high-pressure systems can slightly suppress them. Over millions of years, tides have changed as continents drift and ocean basins shift. The relationship between tides, the moon, and the sun is a perfect example of celestial mechanics shaping daily life. You can see it in exposed rocks draped in seaweed, in shifting sandbars, and in the way boats rest low in the water 1 hour and float high the next. The gravitational conversation between Earth and its companions plays out endlessly, pulling at the sea and setting the rhythm for life along every shore. Every incoming tide carries the ocean closer to the land, and every outgoing tide pulls it back toward the deep. It is a heartbeat that hasn't missed a beat in billions of years, a link between the motion of the heavens and the restless breathing of the sea. If tides are the steady heartbeat of the sea, currents are its lifeblood, vast rivers of water flowing across the surface and through the depths, connecting every ocean to every other. Currents shape climates, guide marine life, and even influence the course of human history. They're driven by a mix of forces: the wind, the rotation of the earth, differences in water temperature and salinity, and the shape of the ocean basins themselves. Surface currents are mostly powered by winds, which push the water into broad, looping patterns. The rotation of the Earth adds a twist through the Coriolis effect, deflecting currents to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. These combined forces create large circular systems called gyres. In the North Atlantic, for example, the Gulf Stream carries warm water northward from the tropics, hugging the U.S. coastline before veering toward Europe. It's one of the fastest and most studied currents in the world, moving more water than all the rivers on Earth combined. This warmth helps keep Europe's climate milder than other regions at the same latitude. In the Pacific, the Kuroshio Current plays a similar role for Japan, while the Peru, or Humboldt, Current carries cold, nutrient-rich water from Antarctica up the coast of South America, fueling some of the world's richest fishing grounds. But not all currents are warm or wind-driven. Beneath the surface lies the global conveyor belt, a deep ocean circulation powered by differences in water density. This thermohaline circulation, thermo for temperature, haline for salt, begins when cold, salty water sinks near the poles. This dense water flows along the ocean floor for thousands of kilometers, slowly rising again in warmer regions. The conveyor belt moves heat around the planet, redistributes nutrients, and influences climate patterns on timescales of centuries. If it were to slow significantly, as some scientists worry might happen due to climate change, the effects could be dramatic, altering rainfall, storm patterns, and even the stability of ice sheets. Currents are highways for marine life. Many species, from tiny plankton to massive sea turtles, use them to travel vast distances. Migrating fish ride favorable flows, while floating larvae drift to new habitats. Sargassum seaweed, home to a unique community of creatures, gathers in great mats within the North Atlantic Gyre. For humans, understanding currents has always been essential. Ancient Polynesian navigators used knowledge of Pacific currents and swells to sail thousands of miles between islands without modern instruments. European explorers relied on the trade winds and associated currents to cross the Atlantic. Today, scientists track currents with satellites, drifting buoys, and underwater gliders, because their influence touches everything from shipping routes to search and rescue operations. Currents also affect weather far from the sea. The warm waters of the tropical Pacific, for example, can shift atmospheric patterns in a phenomenon called El Niño, bringing drought to some regions and heavy rains to others. Its counterpart, La Niña, has opposite but equally far-reaching effects. Even in calm weather, standing at the shore, you might notice the current's presence, a longshore drift carrying sand along the coast, or rip currents pulling water swiftly seaward. These are smaller-scale cousins of the great oceanic flows, but they follow the same basic rules of movement. Like invisible threads, currents weave the oceans together into one interconnected system. They blur the boundaries between the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and Southern waters, reminding us that while we name them separately, the sea is one. If tides mark the rhythm of the ocean's breath, and currents circulate its lifeblood, then waves are its voice, restless, expressive, and full of energy. Some waves are gentle, lapping the shore in soothing repetition. Others are colossal, carrying the force of storms across entire oceans. Most waves are created by the wind. The stronger and longer the wind blows over a stretch of water, the fetch, the bigger the waves. In deep water, they travel as smooth swells, their energy rolling forward even though the water itself moves mostly in place. When these swells reach shallower water near the shore, their bases drag against the seabed, slowing them down. The tops, still moving faster, topple forward in a familiar breaking curl. The size and shape of the break depend on the slope of the seabed, the depth, and the direction of the swell. Some waves, however, come from much deeper forces. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, or landslides under the sea can displace massive amounts of water, creating tsunamis. These waves travel at incredible speeds, up to 500 miles per hour in deep water, but are barely noticeable until they reach the shallows, where they rise into devastating walls of water. Waves also play a quiet role in shaping coastlines. Every breaker that crashes against the shore carries away grains of sand, smooths rocks, and shifts sediments. Over years and centuries, waves sculpt cliffs, carve sea arches, and build beaches. For life in the shallows, waves are both a challenge and a gift, bringing oxygen, stirring nutrients, and shaping habitats in constant motion. Part 6, rewritten in American English. If you've ever stood in the surf, feeling waves tug at your legs, you've experienced just a hint of the ocean's energy. But beneath the surface, in places most of us will never see, the sea is alive with movements, exchanges, and life forms that have existed for hundreds of millions of years. The shallow zone where sunlight still penetrates, called the photic zone, is home to the majority of marine life. Here, sunlight fuels photosynthesis, enabling microscopic phytoplankton to produce both food and oxygen. These tiny organisms are the foundation of the marine food web, feeding everything from small fish to giant whales. Phytoplankton blooms can be so vast they're visible from space, creating swirls of green and blue across the ocean's surface. Alongside them float zooplankton, tiny drifting animals, including the larval forms of crabs, sea stars, and fish. Though small, they are crucial links in the chain, passing energy upward to larger predators. Coral reefs are another treasure of the sunlit seas. Built by tiny coral polyps that secrete limestone skeletons, these structures grow slowly over centuries, forming vibrant underwater cities. Home to a quarter of all marine species, reefs are bustling with life, colorful fish darting through crevices, sea turtles gliding above, and octopuses blending into the rocks. But reefs are fragile. Rising ocean temperatures can cause coral bleaching, where stressed corals expel the symbiotic algae that give them color and nourishment. Pollution, overfishing, and acidification threaten their survival, yet they remain among the most diverse ecosystems on Earth. Beyond the reach of sunlight lies the twilight zone, a dim region where light fades and the water grows colder. Here, many creatures have evolved remarkable adaptations. Some produce their own light through bioluminescence, using it to attract prey, confuse predators, or signal to mates. Farther still, in the midnight zone, darkness is absolute. Temperatures hover near freezing, and pressures are crushing. Life here often appears alien, anglerfish with glowing lures, giant squids with enormous eyes, and bizarre jellyfish drifting silently through the black water. At the very bottom, in the abyssal plains and trenches, life survives in extreme conditions. Hydrothermal vents spew mineral-rich water heated by the Earth's interior, creating oases of life. Here, instead of sunlight, chemosynthetic bacteria form the base of the food chain, converting chemicals into energy. Tube worms, vent crabs, and unique clams thrive in this otherworldly environment. The open ocean, far from coasts and the seafloor, might seem empty, but it's a dynamic habitat for species built for long-distance travel. Tuna, sharks, and whales roam vast ranges, following seasonal migrations. Sea birds, like albatrosses, spend months at sea, gliding on wind currents and feeding on fish driven to the surface by predators below. Marine mammals, especially whales and dolphins, navigate with extraordinary skill. Many use echolocation, emitting clicks and listening for the echoes, to see in the dark or murky water. Humpback whales sing complex songs that can travel for miles, possibly communicating across entire ocean basins. Sea turtles, too, undertake incredible journeys. Some hatchlings travel thousands of miles before returning to the very beach where they were born to lay their eggs. Their navigation abilities remain one of nature's great mysteries, possibly guided by Earth's magnetic field. Every layer of the ocean, from the sunlit shallows to the deepest trenches, is interconnected. Nutrients from the deep rise through upwelling currents, feeding surface life. When organisms die, their remains sink, delivering food to the depths in a slow, marine snow. The health of these interconnected systems depends on balance. Overfishing can deplete key species, disrupting entire food webs. Pollution, from plastics to oil spills, can harm creatures at every level. Climate change warms the water, alters currents, and threatens habitats worldwide. Yet the ocean is resilient. Protected areas, sustainable fishing practices, and global cooperation can allow ecosystems to recover. Stories of rebounding whale populations and restored coral reefs prove that change is possible. For humans, the ocean is more than just a resource, it's a source of inspiration, wonder, and connection. Myths and legends from every culture speak of sea gods, mermaids, and monsters, reflecting our awe of the deep. Artists and poets have long been drawn to its moods, sometimes gentle and reflective, sometimes wild and unforgiving. To stand at the edge of the sea is to feel both small and connected to something vast. The waves that touch your feet have traveled from distant shores. The wind on your face may have crossed the open ocean. And deep beneath, in darkness you'll never see, life continues its timeless dance. For thousands of years, humans have looked to the sea not only for food and trade but also for meaning. The ocean's vastness has inspired myths, shaped cultures, and driven exploration across the globe. It has been both a barrier and a bridge, separating civilizations while also connecting them through shared waters. Ancient peoples often viewed the sea as a living force, unpredictable and powerful. In Greek mythology, Poseidon ruled the oceans, his moods determining whether sailors would have safe passage or face storms. The Polynesians revered the sea as a provider and a pathway, using deep knowledge of swells, stars, and winds to navigate between islands spread across thousands of miles. Maritime exploration has transformed human history. The Phoenicians sailed the Mediterranean, trading goods and ideas between distant ports. The Vikings crossed the North Atlantic centuries before Columbus, reaching as far as North America. Chinese treasure fleets under Admiral Zheng He explored the Indian Ocean, connecting Asia to Africa in the 15th century. When European explorers set out during the Age of Discovery, they stitched together a global map, linking continents through new sea routes. These voyages brought spices, silks, and precious metals across oceans, but also carried disease, conflict, and colonization. The sea was a pathway of both prosperity and hardship. Fishing has been a lifeline for coastal communities since prehistoric times. From small wooden boats to massive factory ships, humans have harvested the ocean's bounty for sustenance and trade. Some fishing traditions remain sustainable, respecting seasonal cycles and the balance of marine life. Others, driven by industrial demand, have pushed species to the brink of collapse. Beyond fishing, the ocean has provided resources from salt and pearls to oil and natural gas. Offshore drilling platforms now stand like islands of steel, extracting fuel from beneath the seafloor. While these ventures supply energy, they also carry environmental risks, from oil spills to habitat disruption. The sea has also been central to global trade. Today, over 80% of international goods are transported by ship, moving through busy corridors like the Strait of Malacca, the Suez Canal, and the Panama Canal. Modern container ships are floating cities of steel, carrying everything from electronics to grain across vast distances. Yet for all our technological progress, the ocean can still humble us. Storms, rogue waves, and shifting ice can challenge even the most advanced vessels. Shipwrecks, ancient and modern, litter the seafloor, each with its own story of ambition, miscalculation, or tragedy. The mysteries of the deep continue to draw explorers. Submersibles and remotely operated vehicles have revealed landscapes no human had ever seen, towering undersea mountains, ghostly shipwrecks, and ecosystems thriving without sunlight. Oceanographers map currents, study marine species, and monitor changes in temperature and chemistry to better understand the sea's role in our planet's health. Marine archaeology has uncovered treasures and history alike, from the cargo of sunken trading ships to ancient harbors buried beneath the waves. Each discovery tells a story not just of the vessel but of the people, cultures, and worlds connected by the sea. For coastal communities, the ocean is part of daily life. It shapes weather, provides food, and offers a sense of identity. Festivals, songs, and art often carry maritime themes, celebrating the bond between people and water. The ocean also holds a deep emotional pull for individuals. Some find peace in its steady rhythms, others feel awe at its power, and still others see it as a place of adventure and possibility. The sight of an endless horizon can spark dreams, or remind us of how much remains unknown. Even in the age of satellites and global maps, vast areas of the ocean remain unexplored. We have better maps of Mars than of our own seafloor. Every expedition into the deep has the potential to reveal something new, whether it's a species, a geological feature, or a clue to Earth's history. The sea is both timeless and ever-changing. Its waves beat against the same shores for millennia, yet its currents shift, coastlines reshape, and ecosystems adapt. For as long as humans have lived beside it, the ocean has been our sustainer, our highway, and our mystery. To understand the ocean is to understand ourselves, not just as inhabitants of the land, but as part of a planet defined by water. The tides, currents, and storms that move across its surface have shaped our history, our cultures, and even our inner sense of possibility. The ocean is not just a backdrop to our lives, it's the system that makes life on Earth possible. It regulates our climate, produces much of the oxygen we breathe, and absorbs carbon dioxide, helping to balance the planet's atmosphere. Without the ocean's steady influence, Earth would be a far less hospitable place. One of its most vital roles is in climate regulation. Because water has a high heat capacity, the ocean can absorb and store vast amounts of heat from the sun. This prevents extreme temperature swings between day and night, or between seasons, especially in coastal regions. Ocean currents move this stored heat around the globe. Warm currents, like the Gulf Stream, carry heat toward higher latitudes, keeping winters milder. Cold currents, like the California Current, bring cooler water toward the tropics, moderating temperatures in those regions. Together, these flows act like a planetary thermostat. The ocean also plays a central role in the carbon cycle. Microscopic phytoplankton near the surface absorb carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. When they die, some of that carbon sinks into the deep ocean, where it can remain for hundreds or even thousands of years, a process known as the biological pump. This ability to store carbon helps slow the rate of climate change. However, the ocean's chemistry is changing as it absorbs more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This causes ocean acidification, which reduces the availability of calcium carbonate, a key building block for shells, corals, and many other marine organisms. The effects ripple through the food web. Shellfish may struggle to form protective shells, coral reefs may weaken, and species that depend on these habitats can decline. Scientists are working to understand the full scope of these changes and how ecosystems might adapt. The ocean also provides a vast source of food. Billions of people worldwide rely on seafood as a primary source of protein. Fisheries support livelihoods, economies, and cultures. Yet overfishing threatens this balance. When key species are removed faster than they can reproduce, entire ecosystems can destabilize. Sustainable fishing practices, like setting catch limits, protecting breeding grounds, and reducing bycatch, are essential for preserving marine biodiversity. Some nations and communities are leading the way, creating marine protected areas where fishing is limited or banned to allow stocks to recover. Beyond food, the ocean offers other resources. Seaweed farming is growing as a sustainable source of food, animal feed, and even biofuel. Compounds from marine organisms are being studied for use in medicine, from antibiotics to cancer treatments. The ocean is also a source of renewable energy. Tidal power, wave energy, and offshore wind farms are being developed to help meet the world's growing energy needs without relying on fossil fuels. These technologies harness the natural movements of water and air, offering clean alternatives with minimal emissions. Yet the ocean faces mounting pressures. Plastic pollution is one of the most visible challenges. Every year, millions of tons of plastic enter the sea, breaking down into tiny particles called microplastics that are ingested by marine life and, eventually, by humans. Oil spills, chemical runoff from agriculture, and untreated wastewater also contaminate marine habitats. In some regions, nutrient pollution causes algal blooms that consume oxygen, creating dead zones where few species can survive. Climate change compounds these threats. Warmer waters can lead to coral bleaching, disrupt migration patterns, and alter the timing of key life events, like spawning. Rising sea levels, caused by melting ice and thermal expansion, threaten coastal communities with flooding and erosion. Despite these challenges, the ocean remains resilient. Marine conservation efforts, technological innovation, and international agreements offer hope. Projects to restore mangroves and seagrass beds help protect shorelines, store carbon, and provide habitat for countless species. Cleanup initiatives remove debris from beaches and open waters, while education campaigns encourage people to reduce waste and protect marine environments. Ultimately, the ocean's future is tied to our own. Protecting it means protecting our climate, our food systems, and the biodiversity that sustains life on Earth. We have inherited a planet where the seas have been thriving for billions of years. Whether they continue to do so depends on the choices we make now, individually and collectively. By valuing the ocean not just as a resource, but as a living system that supports all life, we can ensure it remains healthy for generations to come. Standing at the shore, watching the waves roll in, it's easy to feel small. But even small actions, choosing sustainable seafood, reducing plastic use, supporting conservation, can ripple outward, joining countless other efforts to shape a better future for our oceans. The story of the ocean is ultimately the story of Earth itself, a tale billions of years in the making, still unfolding with every wave, tide, and current. It is a story of transformation, resilience, and connection. From the first trickles of water that formed on the young planet's surface, to the vast, interconnected oceans we know today, the sea has shaped the destiny of our world. It has been the cradle of life, the architect of climates, and the highway of human history. Every molecule of water in the ocean has been part of countless cycles, rising as vapor, falling as rain, freezing into ice, and melting again into the sea. This endless motion binds together every living thing, from the smallest plankton to the largest whale. The ocean's depth holds not only the secrets of Earth's past but also clues to its future. In its layers are records of changing climates, stored in sediments and chemical signatures. Studying them reveals patterns that help us predict what may come, and how we might adapt. Yet much of the ocean remains unknown. Despite satellites mapping its surface and submersibles exploring its depths, more than 80% of the seafloor is still unmapped. Vast areas lie in darkness, untouched and unexplored, holding species, ecosystems, and phenomena we have yet to discover. This mystery is part of its magic. The sea invites curiosity and demands respect. It reminds us that we are not separate from nature but part of it, subject to its rhythms and dependent on its health. Our relationship with the ocean is both practical and spiritual. We rely on it for food, transport, and climate stability, but we also turn to it for inspiration, reflection, and renewal. The sight of a sunrise over calm waters, the sound of waves crashing on a rocky shore, or the endless horizon stretching into the unknown, all stir something deep within us. For some, the ocean is a place of adventure, sailing into uncharted waters, diving into coral reefs, or surfing the perfect wave. For others, it is a sanctuary, a space to breathe, to think, and to heal. Cultures around the world have expressed this connection in stories, songs, and rituals. From the chants of Pacific navigators to the sea shanties of European sailors, the ocean has a voice in our collective heritage. Its moods, gentle, wild, mysterious, mirror our own. But with connection comes responsibility. Our actions on land and at sea affect the ocean's health. Every piece of litter left on a beach, every ton of carbon released into the atmosphere, every decision about what resources to take or protect, it all adds up. The choices we make today will determine the ocean's condition tomorrow. If we allow its ecosystems to collapse, we risk losing not only biodiversity but also the stability of the systems that make Earth habitable. If we act with care and foresight, we can preserve its vitality for generations yet to come. Efforts to protect the ocean are gaining momentum. Marine reserves safeguard critical habitats, international agreements regulate fishing and shipping, and restoration projects breathe life back into damaged reefs and coastlines. These are steps in the right direction, but they require global cooperation and a shared sense of urgency. The ocean belongs to no one and to everyone. Its currents flow across borders, its weather patterns touch every nation, and its resources sustain lives far beyond the coasts. Protecting it is a shared responsibility, one that transcends politics, culture, and geography. When we look to the horizon, we see more than water. We see possibility. We see the vast, living system that has carried Earth through eons and will continue to do so if we honor and protect it. Standing there, where the land meets the sea, it is impossible not to feel part of something greater. The waves you hear have traveled thousands of miles to reach you. The salt on your skin is the same salt that flowed through ancient seas when the first life emerged. The wind that brushes your face has crossed continents, carrying the scent of distant shores. In that moment, you understand, the ocean's story is our story. Its health is our health. Its future is our future. And like the tides, our lives are tied to its eternal rhythm. We are the stewards of a planet defined by water. If we choose to listen, to truly listen, the ocean will teach us how to live in balance, how to adapt, and how to endure. It will show us that change is constant, that life is interconnected, and that beauty often lies in the depths we have yet to explore. This is not just a call to protect the sea. It is an invitation to rediscover our place within it, to be humbled by its power, inspired by its mystery, and committed to its care. For as long as the ocean lives, so do we. The ocean is Earth's greatest unifying force, touching every continent and shaping every climate. No matter where you live, whether in a coastal town or deep inland, you are connected to it. The rain that nourishes your crops, the weather that shapes your seasons, even the air you breathe, all are influenced by the sea. It's easy to think of the ocean as endless and unchanging, but it is neither. It is vast, yes, but also vulnerable. Its waters are in constant motion, carrying life and energy around the globe, yet they are sensitive to shifts in temperature, chemistry, and human activity. For centuries, people treated the ocean as limitless, a place that could absorb all the waste we threw into it, and supply all the fish and resources we wanted to take. We now know this is not true. The ocean has limits, and we are reaching them. Climate change is warming its waters, altering currents, and melting ice at the poles. These changes ripple outward, affecting weather patterns, food supplies, and the survival of countless species. Coral reefs bleach and die in overheated seas. Fish and marine mammals shift their ranges in search of cooler waters. Storms grow stronger, fueled by warmer oceans. Pollution adds another burden. Plastics choke marine animals. Oil spills coat coastlines in toxic slicks. Excess nutrients from farming and sewage feed algae blooms that deplete oxygen and create lifeless zones. Even sound pollution, from shipping, drilling, and sonar, can disrupt the communication and navigation of whales and dolphins. Despite this, the ocean remains resilient. Given time and protection, ecosystems can recover. Overfished populations can rebound. Coral reefs can regrow. Waterways can be restored to health. The key is our willingness to act, not someday, but now. We have tools to help us. Technology allows us to monitor ocean health from satellites and deep-sea sensors. Sustainable fishing practices can maintain food supplies while protecting biodiversity. Renewable energy from tides, waves, and offshore winds can reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. International cooperation is essential. The ocean knows no political borders. Currents flow between nations, and pollutants travel just as easily. Agreements that safeguard shared waters are vital, whether they focus on reducing plastic waste, managing fisheries, or establishing marine protected areas. Education is another powerful tool. The more people understand the ocean's importance, the more likely they are to protect it. Schools, documentaries, and community programs can inspire new generations of ocean stewards. But perhaps the most powerful change begins with individuals. Every choice we make, what we eat, what we buy, how we travel, affects the sea. Reducing single-use plastics, supporting sustainable seafood, conserving water, and cutting carbon emissions all make a difference. When we stand at the edge of the water, watching the waves roll in, we are witnessing a force older than humanity itself. The same tides have risen and fallen for billions of years. The same currents have flowed, linking distant shores. The same salt has cycled through clouds, rivers, and seas since before the first plants took root on land. This perspective can be humbling, but also empowering. We are part of a lineage of life that began in the ocean. We carry within us the chemistry of ancient seas, By protecting the ocean, we are not simply conserving a resource, we are safeguarding our origins and our future. Imagine a world where the oceans are clean, their waters teeming with life, coral reefs glowing with color, and coastlines thriving with healthy communities. This is possible, not as a dream, but as a result of conscious action. It will take effort, cooperation, and persistence. But the rewards are immeasurable: a stable climate, abundant food, thriving biodiversity, and a planet where future generations can stand at the shore and feel the same awe we do today. The ocean has given us everything: our climate, our oxygen, our food, our trade routes, our myths, our inspiration. It asks for nothing in return but respect and care. We have reached a turning point. The choices we make in the coming years will decide the fate of the seas for centuries. The tide can turn toward restoration and renewal, but only if we are willing to steer it there. When you next see the ocean, whether in person, in a photograph, or even in your imagination, remember, it is alive, it is powerful, and it is part of you. Treat it well, and it will continue to sustain life in ways we are only beginning to understand. The ocean's story is not over. And neither is ours. To speak of the ocean is to speak of time itself. It has been here longer than mountains, longer than forests, longer than almost all life that now walks the earth. Its depths hold echoes of the planet's earliest days, when life was nothing more than simple cells drifting in warm, shallow seas. The ocean has always been a creator and a destroyer. It nurtures life with its abundance, yet it can take life away in an instant through storms, floods, or waves of unimaginable force. This dual nature commands both reverence and caution. Throughout history, civilizations have risen and fallen along its shores. The sea has been both the lifeblood and the battleground for empires. It has carried explorers to new worlds and invaders to foreign lands. It has brought trade and prosperity, as well as conflict and conquest. Mariners learn to read the ocean's signs, the shape of clouds, the direction of swells, the color of water. Such skills meant the difference between survival and disaster. Even today, with GPS and satellite weather, experienced sailors still trust their senses, knowing the ocean's moods cannot always be predicted by machines alone. The sea also holds a vast wealth of stories, both real and imagined. Legends of lost cities like Atlantis, tales of sea monsters lurking in the deep, and myths of gods who command the waves have endured for centuries. These stories reflect humanity's enduring fascination with the unknown, and the ocean remains our greatest unknown. Beneath the waves lie entire landscapes, mountain ranges taller than the Himalayas, trenches deeper than Mount Everest is high, and plains that stretch farther than the eye can imagine. These hidden worlds are home to life forms that defy our understanding, adapted to darkness, pressure, and isolation in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. But the ocean's power is not only physical, it is emotional and spiritual. Standing at the water's edge, many feel a deep sense of connection, as if the rhythm of the waves matches the rhythm of the human heart. The sea can calm a troubled mind, inspire creativity, and awaken a sense of wonder. For artists, poets, and musicians, the ocean has been a muse for centuries. Its shifting colors, infinite horizons, and untamed energy are metaphors for love, loss, freedom, and eternity. In its presence, we are reminded that beauty and danger can exist together, and that change is both inevitable and necessary. Yet the ocean is also a mirror, reflecting the state of the world we live in. Healthy oceans are vibrant and full of life, damaged oceans are clouded, silent, and barren. What we see in the sea often reveals what we have done on land. The interconnectedness is undeniable. Rainforests, deserts, mountains, and rivers are all influenced by the sea's currents and climate control. Even far inland, communities depend on the ocean's role in regulating weather and supporting global food chains. The ocean also teaches lessons of resilience. Coral reefs rebuild after storms. Mangrove forests protect coastlines from erosion. Whale populations, once devastated by hunting, can rebound when given protection. The sea shows us that recovery is possible if harm is stopped and healing is allowed to begin. But time is critical. The pressures facing the ocean, climate change, overfishing, pollution, are intensifying. The longer we delay, the harder recovery becomes. This is why conservation is not just about preserving beauty, it's about survival. We live in a moment where the future of the ocean, and therefore our own future, depends on the choices we make. Whether we invest in clean energy, reduce waste, create protected areas, and limit destructive fishing practices will determine the health of the seas for centuries to come. It is easy to feel small in the face of such a vast challenge. But the truth is, great change often begins with small actions, choices made daily by millions of people. When these choices align toward protection and respect for the ocean, the impact is profound. Every plastic bottle recycled, every piece of trash removed from a beach, every vote cast for environmental protection sends a message: the ocean matters. And when enough voices join together, they become a tide too strong to ignore. The ocean's story is one of endurance. It has survived asteroid impacts, ice ages, and shifts in the very continents themselves. Yet its survival now depends on us, humans, a species that has been here for only a blink of its long history. We are the first generation to truly understand the scale of our impact on the ocean, and perhaps the last with the power to reverse the damage before it's too late. To protect the ocean is to protect the foundation of life on Earth. And to stand with the sea is to stand with the countless generations yet to come, ensuring they inherit a world as rich and alive as the one that was given to us. The ocean is a living archive of Earth's history. Within its depths are clues to the origins of life, records of climate shifts, and the story of how continents have moved and reshaped over time. It is the keeper of secrets far older than humanity, holding knowledge that could guide our future, if we choose to seek it with respect. Scientists study the chemical composition of seawater, the layers of sediment on the seafloor, and the movements of marine species to better understand how our planet works. Each discovery reveals the ocean's essential role in maintaining the balance that allows life to thrive. For example, ice cores from polar regions hold bubbles of ancient air, showing how greenhouse gas levels have changed over hundreds of thousands of years. These records help us see the link between atmospheric shifts and ocean currents, guiding our predictions for the future. Yet even with all we've learned, the ocean remains largely unmapped and unexplored. More than 4/5 of its floor has never been seen by human eyes. Every deep-sea mission brings new surprises, species that glow in the dark, creatures with translucent bodies, and geological formations that defy what we thought was possible. This mystery is part of the ocean's allure. It is vast enough to make us feel small, yet close enough to touch. It is both a boundary and a bridge, separating lands while connecting them through the invisible highways of currents and the shared breath of the atmosphere. The ocean's influence extends to every part of life on Earth. Its currents help distribute heat, its waters feed billions, and its cycles shape the weather. From the plankton that produce oxygen to the whales that transport nutrients, every layer of its ecosystem works together in delicate harmony. But this harmony is being tested. The pressures of overfishing, pollution, and climate change are altering the ocean faster than at any time in recorded history. Coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea, are disappearing. Species are migrating to new waters as temperatures rise, disrupting long-established food webs. The melting of polar ice is not only raising sea levels but also affecting the salinity and flow of deep ocean currents, with potential consequences for global climate stability. These changes are reminders that the ocean is not a separate world, it is part of our shared home. And yet, there is hope. Around the world, scientists, conservationists, and communities are working to restore the health of the seas. Protected areas are allowing fish populations to recover. Coral nurseries are planting new life onto damaged reefs. Efforts to reduce plastic waste are gaining global attention, inspiring innovation in packaging and recycling. Technology is opening new doors. Autonomous underwater vehicles can map the seafloor in detail, track migrating animals, and monitor changes in water temperature and chemistry in real time. Satellites can spot illegal fishing and identify algal blooms before they grow out of control. But technology alone will not save the ocean. It must be paired with responsibility. Governments, industries, and individuals all have a role to play. Laws can regulate harmful practices, businesses can adopt sustainable models, and individuals can make choices that protect rather than harm. Even simple actions matter. Choosing reusable products, supporting sustainable seafood, participating in beach cleanups, and reducing carbon emissions all contribute to the health of the sea. These choices, multiplied by millions, create waves of change. The ocean is resilient when given the chance. After decades of hunting, humpback whale populations have rebounded in many regions. Once polluted harbors have been restored to clarity and life. Areas where fishing has been restricted are now teeming with species that spill over into surrounding waters. Standing at the shoreline, you can feel this resilience. The waves never stop. The tides keep their time. Life continues to find a way, adapting to new challenges and seizing every opportunity to flourish. This is the lesson the ocean offers: persistence. Even when battered, it finds a rhythm again. Even when damaged, it works to heal. And it invites us to be part of that healing, not as owners, but as caretakers of something far greater than ourselves. We have inherited a treasure billions of years in the making. To honor it, we must protect it. To protect it, we must understand it. And to understand it, we must continue to explore, with curiosity, humility, and care. For as long as the ocean breathes, there is hope for the planet. And as long as we choose to act, there is hope for the ocean. The ocean has always been both a mystery and a teacher. It reminds us that the world is vast, that life is interconnected, and that balance is essential for survival. Every wave carries energy from distant places. Every current connects one shore to another. Every drop of seawater holds a story millions of years old. For those who work on the sea, fishermen, sailors, divers, the ocean is not an abstract concept, it is a daily companion. They learn its rhythms, watch its skies, and read its subtle changes. They understand that the sea demands respect, because its beauty can turn into danger without warning. Generations have passed down this respect through stories, songs, and traditions. In coastal villages, festivals celebrate the bounty of the sea and honor the forces believed to protect it. In maritime cultures, children grow up knowing the tides, the constellations, and the signs of changing weather. These traditions are not just folklore, they are survival skills honed over centuries. Today, much of humanity is removed from the ocean's direct influence. Many live far inland, surrounded by concrete and technology, disconnected from the source of much of the planet's life. Yet even those who never see the ocean depend on it. The oxygen in the air, the stability of the climate, and the flow of trade goods are all linked to the sea. Our challenge now is to restore a sense of connection. Without it, it's easy to ignore the damage being done to marine ecosystems. With it, we can inspire the action needed to protect them. Education, storytelling, and direct experiences, like visiting a coastline or supporting conservation projects, help rebuild that bond. The health of the ocean affects every other ecosystem. If the seas falter, rainforests, grasslands, and wetlands will also suffer. This is why marine conservation is not just a niche environmental concern, it is a global priority. Change is possible, and history proves it. Whale populations, once nearly wiped out, have rebounded where hunting has been banned. Some coral reefs, though stressed, have shown signs of recovery when protected from overfishing and pollution. Marine sanctuaries have transformed depleted waters into thriving habitats in just a few years. The tools for protection are already in our hands. Governments can establish more marine protected areas. Businesses can shift to sustainable sourcing and reduce waste. Communities can organize cleanups, monitor local waters, and advocate for stronger environmental laws. Individual actions may seem small, but collectively they matter. Choosing reusable bottles instead of single-use plastics, eating seafood from sustainable sources, reducing carbon emissions by walking or cycling, these choices ripple outward, influencing markets, policies, and cultural norms. The ocean's resilience offers hope, but it is not limitless. If we push too far, if we warm the waters beyond what species can tolerate, if we strip away too much life, if we pollute beyond recovery, the consequences will be felt everywhere. We stand at a crossroads. One path leads to further decline, where the ocean loses its abundance and beauty, and humanity loses the stability it provides. The other path leads to restoration, where the ocean's health is renewed, and its gifts continue to sustain life for generations. The decision is ours. And the time to choose is now. When you stand at the edge of the water, watching waves stretch toward the horizon, remember, those waves connect to every other ocean on Earth. They have touched lands you've never seen, carried creatures you'll never meet, and moved through storms you'll never witness. You are part of that vast, living system. Your choices, what you consume, how you travel, what you protect, are part of its future. The ocean has shaped your world in ways you cannot count. Now it asks you to return the favor. If we act with care, courage, and cooperation, the ocean will continue its timeless rhythm, carrying life forward. And long after we are gone, its waves will still reach the shore, whispering the same message they have carried for eons. All life is connected, and the sea is the thread that binds us. The ocean is a constant reminder of the delicate balance that sustains life. It is powerful yet fragile, vast yet vulnerable. Its tides have shaped coastlines for millions of years, and its currents have carried life across the globe. But in our lifetime, this balance has begun to shift more quickly than ever before. Over the past century, human activity has left a deep mark on the seas. Industrial fishing fleets have depleted once abundant stocks. Plastic waste has reached even the most remote waters, drifting into the deepest trenches and washing up on isolated shores. Climate change has warmed the ocean, melted ice, and altered the patterns of life that have existed for millennia. Yet amid these challenges, there is a growing awareness, a recognition that the ocean's health is tied directly to our own. Scientists, activists, governments, and communities are working together to turn the tide. From large-scale policy changes to grassroots movements, the effort to protect the seas is gaining momentum. Marine protected areas, for example, give ecosystems the breathing room they need to recover. By limiting human activity in certain zones, these areas allow fish populations to rebound, corals to regenerate, and biodiversity to flourish. Around the world, success stories are emerging, once depleted reefs now alive with color, waters once overfished now teeming with life. But protection alone is not enough. We must also address the root causes of damage. This means reducing greenhouse gas emissions to slow warming seas, cutting plastic use to stop pollution at its source, and enforcing sustainable fishing practices to keep marine life in balance. Technology is playing a key role in this fight. Satellite monitoring can track illegal fishing vessels. AI-powered sensors can detect changes in water chemistry, helping scientists respond more quickly to threats. Innovations in biodegradable materials can replace harmful plastics, reducing the waste that enters the sea. However, technology is only as effective as the will behind it. Without commitment and cooperation, even the best tools cannot bring lasting change. Governments must prioritize ocean health in their policies. Businesses must adopt practices that protect rather than exploit. And individuals must choose lifestyles that leave a lighter footprint. Education is crucial in this transformation. When people understand the ocean's role in their daily lives, they are more likely to protect it. Schools, documentaries, and community programs can inspire a new generation of ocean stewards, people who see the sea not just as a resource, but as a living system that deserves care. On a personal level, we can make changes that add up, using less plastic, eating sustainable seafood, conserving water, and supporting conservation initiatives. These may seem like small steps, but they create ripples that spread across communities, influencing others to act. The ocean is resilient, but it cannot heal alone. It needs time, space, and protection. When we give it those, the results can be remarkable. Species once on the brink can return. Waters once polluted can become clear again. Coral reefs can regain their color and vitality. Every action we take matters. Each cleanup effort, each vote for environmental policy, each product chosen for its sustainability brings us closer to a future where the ocean thrives. Standing on the shore, watching the horizon blur into the sky, it's easy to forget the vast life hidden beneath the surface. But that unseen world is what keeps our planet alive. The ocean produces more than half the oxygen we breathe, regulates the climate, and supports millions of species, including us. We are living in a defining moment. The choices we make now will echo for centuries. Will we allow the ocean to decline beyond repair, or will we rise to the challenge and protect it? If we act with urgency and unity, we can restore the balance. We can ensure that the ocean remains a place of wonder, abundance, and life. We can pass on to future generations not a depleted resource, but a thriving blue heart of the planet. The sea has given endlessly. Now it is our turn to give back. The ocean has always been a source of life, a force of nature that shapes our planet in ways seen and unseen. It is the planet's heartbeat, its tides pulsing in harmony with the moon, its currents carrying warmth, nutrients, and life across the globe. Without the ocean, Earth as we know it could not exist. Every drop of seawater contains a complex mix of minerals, gases, and microscopic life. These elements interact in ways that sustain the planet's ecosystems. Tiny phytoplankton, barely visible to the human eye, produce much of the oxygen we breathe. Larger species, from fish to whales, form the intricate web of life that depends on the ocean's stability. But stability is no longer guaranteed. Human actions have placed immense pressure on the seas. Climate change is warming the waters, threatening species that cannot adapt quickly enough. Pollution, from plastics to oil to agricultural runoff, is altering the chemical balance of the ocean, making it harder for life to thrive. One of the most pressing challenges is ocean acidification. As carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere rise, more of it dissolves into seawater, lowering the ocean's pH. This makes it harder for shell-forming creatures like oysters, clams, and corals to build their protective structures. Without them, entire ecosystems can collapse, affecting species up the food chain, including humans. Rising sea levels are another urgent issue. Caused by melting ice and thermal expansion, they threaten coastal communities with flooding and erosion. Some island nations face the possibility of disappearing entirely beneath the waves, displacing their populations and erasing cultures tied to the sea for centuries. Despite these challenges, the ocean remains resilient, if we give it the chance. Areas where fishing is managed responsibly see stocks recover. Polluted waters can become clear again when sources of contamination are removed. Coral reefs can rebound if given protection from additional stress. The solutions are within reach. Reducing carbon emissions is essential for slowing warming and acidification. Expanding marine protected areas can safeguard biodiversity and allow ecosystems to recover. Tackling plastic waste at its source can prevent further pollution and protect marine life from harm. Technology offers powerful tools for this work. Drones and satellites can track illegal fishing and monitor changes in sea temperature. Advanced sensors can detect early signs of harmful algal blooms, giving communities time to respond. Innovations in renewable energy, like offshore wind and wave power, can reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, helping to protect the climate and the seas. But technology alone is not enough. Real change requires commitment, from governments, industries, and individuals alike. Laws must be enforced, sustainable practices adopted, and public awareness raised so that protecting the ocean becomes a shared global priority. On a personal level, each of us can contribute. Choosing reusable items over single-use plastics, supporting sustainable seafood, reducing energy use, and participating in cleanup efforts are all meaningful actions. These choices may feel small, but multiplied by millions of people, they create real change. The ocean's health is not just an environmental issue, it is a human issue. Our food, climate, and economies depend on it. Without healthy seas, we cannot have a healthy planet. When you stand by the shore and watch the horizon, you are looking at the Earth's lifeline. Beneath the waves lies a world of astonishing beauty and complexity, a world that asks for nothing more than the chance to continue its ancient rhythm. The future of that rhythm depends on us. We can choose to ignore the signs, or we can choose to act with urgency and care. If we act, we can pass on to future generations an ocean that is alive, abundant, and filled with wonder. The sea has sustained life for billions of years. Now it is our turn to sustain the sea. The ocean is more than just water, it is the living foundation of our planet. It shapes our weather, feeds billions, stores carbon, and sustains life in ways most of us never see. Its waves, tides, and currents form a complex, interconnected system that links every coast and every continent. Yet for all its vastness, the ocean is fragile. Its health is tied to the choices we make on land, in our industries, and in our daily lives. Every river flows into it, carrying the story of what happens upstream, whether that story is one of care or one of neglect. We are living in a time when the ocean's story is at a turning point. For centuries, humans believed the sea was too immense to be harmed. We saw it as an endless source of food, a bottomless dumping ground, and a limitless space for ships to cross. But science and experience have shown us otherwise. The ocean has limits, and we are approaching them. Overfishing has reduced populations of once abundant species to a fraction of their historic numbers. Pollution has filled its waters with plastics that never truly disappear. Climate change is warming and acidifying the seas, altering the conditions that life has adapted to over millions of years. But the ocean is also a place of extraordinary resilience. When given protection, fish stocks can rebound. When pollution is stopped at its source, waters can clear and ecosystems can heal. Coral reefs, though vulnerable, can recover if given a break from constant stress. This resilience is our opportunity, and our responsibility. Protecting the ocean is not just about preserving beauty, it is about safeguarding the systems that keep Earth alive. Solutions exist, and they are within our reach. We can expand marine protected areas to give ecosystems space to recover. We can enforce sustainable fishing practices that allow species to replenish. We can shift to renewable energy sources, reducing the carbon emissions that warm and acidify the seas. We can also change our personal habits. Choosing reusable products over single-use plastics, supporting sustainable seafood, conserving water, and reducing energy use all contribute to ocean health. These actions may seem small, but when multiplied across millions of people, they create powerful change. Education is key to this transformation. The more people understand how the ocean supports life, the more they will care for it. Schools, community programs, and media can all play a role in inspiring the next generation to see the ocean not as a resource to be exploited, but as a living system to be respected and protected. Technology gives us new ways to protect the sea. Satellite tracking can monitor fishing vessels and detect illegal activity. Autonomous underwater vehicles can map unexplored areas and gather data on water quality and marine life. These tools can help us make better decisions and respond more quickly to threats. But ultimately, the ocean's future will be shaped by values as much as by technology. It will depend on whether we choose cooperation over exploitation, long-term stewardship over short-term gain. The ocean connects us all. It does not recognize political borders. Its currents flow freely between nations, and its health, or decline, affects every person on Earth. Protecting it requires global cooperation and a shared sense of purpose. Standing at the shoreline, it's easy to feel small compared to the vastness of the sea. But we are not powerless. Every action we take, every decision we make, becomes part of the ocean's story. If we choose wisely, we can ensure that story is one of recovery and renewal. We can pass on to the next generation an ocean that is abundant, vibrant, and alive. The waves will keep moving, the tides will keep turning, and the currents will keep flowing. The question is whether they will carry the life and beauty they have for millions of years, or the consequences of our neglect. The answer lies with us. The ocean has been here since the beginning, shaping the earth and nurturing life long before humans took their first steps. It has survived asteroid impacts, ice ages, and dramatic shifts in climate. Yet today, it faces challenges unlike any it has seen before, challenges created by us. This moment in history is unique. We are the first generation to fully understand the scale of our impact on the ocean, and perhaps the last with the power to reverse the damage before it is too late. The choices we make now will determine the future of the seas for centuries. If we choose to act, with urgency, with cooperation, and with respect, the ocean can recover. It can return to abundance. Its coral reefs can glow with color again. Its waters can teem with fish, whales, and countless other species. Its waves can continue to bring life, beauty, and stability to our planet. But if we choose to ignore the warning signs, the consequences will be felt everywhere. Storms will grow stronger. Coastal communities will vanish. Entire ecosystems will collapse. And with them, the stability that humanity has relied on for thousands of years will be gone. The ocean connects every living thing. Its breath is in our lungs. Its water cycles through our bodies. Its rhythms are echoed in our own hearts. To protect it is not just an environmental responsibility, it is an act of self-preservation and love for the generations yet to come. Every action counts. Every decision matters. Whether it's voting for policies that safeguard the seas, supporting organizations that protect marine life, or making daily choices that reduce waste and carbon emissions, you have the power to make a difference. One day, when the next generation stands at the shore, watching the sun set over an endless horizon, they will inherit the ocean we leave behind. Let it be an ocean alive with possibility, rich with life, and strong enough to carry the story of Earth forward for billions more years. The sea has given us everything, now it is our turn to give back. The tide is rising. The moment is now. The choice is ours.